Hi, this is Bill Gord, and this is a folk tale from Sweden. It's called Inga and the Fairy Helpers. Inga was an only child. She had no brothers or sisters. And when her parents had Inga, they were so excited. And they said, "Oh, our little Inga, we are going to love you, love you, love you. And we're going to show how much we love you. We're going to do everything for you. You don't have to do a thing. Just be Inga." And that's how it was there at Inga's house as she grew into a little girl. When she went to school, she did all the things the other kids did. She tied her shoes, and she put up her coat in the cubby when she got there. And she did all the chores that were there at the schoolroom. But back home, no. Inga's mom and dad did all the chores. And Inga, well, she just sat with her hands in her lap and watched her mom and dad do all the chores. In fact, like in the morning, when she got up, she'd get out of bed, and she went and sat in her chair, and sat with her hands in her lap, and she'd wait till her mom came by. And her mom would look in and say, "Oh, Inga, good morning, I hope you slept well." And Inga would look over at her unmade bed and say, "Ahem." And her mom would look and say, "Oh, Inga, your bed's not spread. Let me do that." Whoosh, spread it right up. "Now, Inga, I'm going to go down and fix breakfast, and I'll see you in a little while. Oh, I love you so much." And Inga sat smiling with her hands in her lap. She waited. After a little while, her dad came by. Inga looked down at her shoes. And her dad said, "Oh, good morning. Oh, psh, your shoes are untied, of course. Let me do that. There we go. Those should be just right. Oh, Inga, there are clothes on the floor. I'll do that. Let me fold them up neatly and put them back away. Oh, here's a dress. I'll hang it up and put it away. And Inga, I'm going to go down and set the table. And then when you're ready, come down and we can have breakfast together." And Inga sat with her hands in her lap, smiling. Then she went down for breakfast. And after breakfast, do you think she helped clean up, straighten up anything? No, Mom and Dad did it. And it went like this for quite a while. And then one summer, Inga's Mom and Dad came to Inga and said, "Inga, you know, there's a festival in Denmark that we want to go to this summer. And we're really excited about it, but we think it won't be that much fun for you. And we have an idea if you like it. You know your cousins? We were thinking maybe you would stay with them this summer. And they are very excited about the idea. What do you think?" And Inga said, "What do I think? Do you mean I would stay with my 6 cousins? I would have somebody to play with all the time? Of course I would like to do that. Mom and Dad, you go to the festival. I'll be fine with my cousins. Ooh, what a summer!" And so the time came, and Inga went to the cousins, and she did have a great time. And one of the sisters, there were 6 of them, by the way, one of the cousins, well, she moved out of her room and stayed with her sister and let Inga have her very own room there at the cousin's house. And Inga sat with her hands in her lap. And guess what? The cousins did not sit with their hands in their laps. No. Because if you have a family with 6 children, the mom and dad cannot possibly do all those chores. And so, like they do at a lot of schools, there in the kitchen, they had a little job chart. And the kids would come down in the morning, look on the job chart. "Oh, I get to set the table today. Great." Another one say, "Oh, I collect the trash. Okay, that's okay. Oh, I do sweeping today. Nice. Oh," and one after another. And they even cleaned up Inga's room, because you know what Inga was doing. Right, she sat with her hands in her lap. But after about a week, the cousin said, You know, it's okay. These are our household chores and they're not Inga's. But if she doesn't want to clean up her own room, we'll just leave it. And that's what they did. When they were doing their chores, Inga sat with her hands in her lap in her room, her very messy room after a few days. Because every time, like she'd read a book in bed, and every time when she finished the book, you know what she'd do? Throw it on the floor. And she read a lot of books. She also liked to work with puzzles. And what would she do when she got them finished? Yep, on the floor. And her clothes, you already know from at home, she'd throw her clothes on the floor. And she liked different clothes every day. So by the time of this story, the floor was covered. You could hardly see the floor at all for everything. And the bed was not made. The sheet was hanging off the side of the bed. And there was Inga sitting with her hands in her lap. She just sat. And she was not very happy like that. And just then, that sheet, that hanging sheet, started moving. And she thought, oh, the kitty cat must be there. And she said, hey, kitty, come on out. But a kitty cat did not come out. A little man came out. A little man with a long beard. Whoa, you look like a fairy. Are you a fairy? And he said, yes, I am. In fact, I'm your fairy godfather. She said, you're my fairy godfather? I never knew there was a fairy godfather, and you're mine? Oh, what does that mean? And he said, well, it means that I know all about you. And she said, no, you don't know about me. I never saw you before. And he said, well, that doesn't mean I don't know about you. You are sitting in your room and your parents are at a festival in Denmark. What? How did you know that? I told you I'm your fairy godfather. What else? Well, they're coming back on August 17th. Whoa! How did you know that? I'm your fairy godfather. Wow. What else? Well, you're not happy right now. And she said, yeah. Well, why? And he said, because your room is all messy and you don't like it that way, but you don't want to clean it up. And she said, whoa, you are my fairy godfather. Did you come to clean up my room? And he said, not exactly, but if you can take your hands out of your lap long enough to clap 3 times, I'll introduce you to some friends of mine. And she did. 1, 2, 3. And out from under the bed came little fairies flying around, all around her head. And then they landed down on the ground. She said, my, what can they do? And the fairy godfather said, well, clap 3 more times and you'll see. And so she did. 1, 2, 3. And the little fairies started cleaning up the room. They picked up the books and put them on the shelf. They had little tiny brooms and they swept. They even cleaned the windows. They hung up the clothes. They folded other clothes and put them in the dresser. Everything. They even spread up the bed, fluffed up the pillow. In no time at all, they were finished. And Inga was smiling, 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 with her hands in her lap and the room getting clean. Perfect. Ooh. And then they stood in front of her. And she said, fairy godfather, I am glad you came today. And he said, well, I think it's time for me to go. No, 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 no. You should stay. You should stay. You should stay. And he said, no, there are others I'm fairy godfather of too, that I need to stop in and watch them. Well, what about those fairy helpers? Could they stay? Oh, right. They would need somewhere to live. The fairy godfather stopped and said, Inga, that gives me an idea. Yes. Inga, hold up your hand. And so she did. Yes. Now, just hold up that little finger. Okay. What? And then he spoke to the littlest fairy helper. Little one, hop! And the little one hopped up and landed on her finger and went down into her finger and it started dancing around. Whoa, what are you doing in there? And he said, hold up the next finger. And she did, and he called out to the next fairy, jump! and it jumped into her next finger, and the next one jumped into the next finger, and the next jump into the next finger, and the next jump into the thumb, and her fingers were dancing around. She said, "What are you doing in there? This is unbelievable. Fairy godfather, what about those other ones?" "Well, hold up your other hand." And she did, and one after another, doom, 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 they jumped into her fingers, and her fingers were dancing. And she said, "Fairy godfather, thank you very much. Ooh, you can go now. I am all set." And so the fairy godfather was gone, and Inga went walking down the steps, and she saw one of her cousins with a stack full of plates ready to set the table for breakfast. She took them out of his hand, and she said, "Move out of the way," and she set the table. She set out the forks and spoons. She put out the glasses, poured the oranges, poured the milk, made the toast, buttered it up, scrambled the eggs, made the hash browns, and said, "Breakfast is served." And the cousins were like, "Oh." And they all had a great breakfast. And after breakfast, do you think Inga was sitting with her hands in her lap? No, 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 no. She helped. And the rest of the summer, she worked and played with her cousins every day. It was a great summer. And when she got home, her parents were really surprised when she said, "Could I set the table today?" And that's the story of Inga and the fairy helpers.